Being the hour of 7:01, we'll open the Selectmen's Meeting of April 9th. We have several items on the agenda this evening, but before I open the agenda, I'm going to ask for a moment of silence. We lost an individual in the community who has served the town many years. He was a former police officer, Joseph J. Lehner. I'd ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to take one of the items and move it in the agenda. Normally we had scheduled at 7 p.m. amendments to the eligibility guidelines for benefits. I'm going to have the 7:45 item, John Lamoureux, who's here, taken first. Board have any objections to that? Okay. There being none, come forward,
Got the
please.
microphone here?
Yes, it is.
I have objections to this agenda item, but that ship has sailed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I am called the Reverend Mushia. I'm with the Church of Qumran, right? Well, on May 6, 2011, CNN Security called me on the telephone, right? Called me, right? They were very insulting. It was concerning the drainage on Prince Street. That's why they called me. CNN Security was very insulting to me that day, very insulting, right? And as a result of this, I am now charged with witchcraft in Dudley Court. I am now charged with the count of witchcraft in Dudley Court. I have never done a thing wrong, but because CNN violated my rights on May 6, 2011, and I blame CNN for violating my rights that day, they violated my right to free speech. And as a result of that, and the Prince Street problem with the drainage on Prince Street, right, I am now charged with being a witch, right? I have done nothing wrong, and the only charge they got against me is witchcraft. That's the charge they got against me. And I blame CNN Television Network Security, I blame them, and the drainage on Prince Street as why I am now charged with being a witch. As you know, the planning board ordered that to be repaired on January 12, 1998. January 12, 1998, the planning board ordered that work to be done. The work was never done. I appeared in front of you in July 1999 about the work not being done. The work has never been done, and the work has never been done to this day. Right. Now, any questions?
I have no questions. Board members have any questions?
Nope.
Well, I just want to categorically state that I blame CNN Security for me being charged with being a witch.
It's on the record, sir.
God's blessing upon you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, amendments to the eligibility guidelines for benefits.
Good evening, Chairman Sad, members of the board, Town Manager Zaneski. Tonight, I am coming before you with a amended version of the eligibility guidelines for health insurance for eligible employees. Over the years, there have been amendments. Tonight, I believe it's a proposal, and we could go over some of the changes. There have been changes that the Board of Selectmen put in place, and over the years, with laws changing, health rates changing, just the dynamics of health insurance, we needed to update some of the information. So I thought I would just go over the highlighted items that have changes. I'll present them. You could put some notes down, and then we could revisit items as you may have some questions or concerns about them. All right, so the first one that was changed was when the Board of Selectmen voted to remove the eligibility for selectmen or compensated elected officials to have health insurance. And so that change is in there, effective June 30th, 2012. Compensated elected officials shall no longer be eligible for group insurance, provided, however, that any elected official currently eligible for group insurance benefits through the town shall continue to be eligible to receive those benefits until the end of that elected official's current term. So the next change, so if you'd care to take some notes and we can revisit these items as you need. On page 3, there's a new item that we inserted, and it's an eligible retiree who elects to participate in a town-sponsored health insurance plan must have the retiree share of the premium automatically deducted from his or her pension to be forwarded to the town from the retirement system in his or her behalf. Exception to this requirement would be granted should the pension amount not be sufficient to cover the monthly share of the premium. In this event, the retiree must submit his or her share to the town no later than the first day of the month in which the coverage occurs. This has been a problem with some of the people that were just giving us a check, and sometimes they forget we were chasing after them. There is that option for them to have it withdrawn automatically from their retirement check. The retirement systems forward the funds for that retiree to the town. We have had instances that people have retired, maybe in early retirement. Their retirement check doesn't even cover the 50% share, so they are eligible to pay us, with their own check. But we are just wanting that so that the option isn't really so open, because we have been chasing for payments. And for the most part, they generally do have it withdrawn from their item. There was something that was changed on the bottom of the page, and the Medicare eligible retirees. In the old amendment, there was a Medicare penalty for those that were 65 that did not take Medicare and a town supplemental plan at age 65 if they didn't opt it. When we accepted this section of the law, they may have well been into an age where they were well beyond that initial enrollment in Medicare, and there's a penalty. Well, over the years, we have gathered the information, and we now require them at 65, if they're retired, to go on the Medicare. It's a 10% charge each year that they don't enroll. So if you were out for 9 years, it'd be $90 extra above and beyond your Medicare. So we, at the time when we accepted the law, and there were people out there, we would pay the penalty, but over the years, we've made it well known to all the Medicare eligible retirees that upon their eligibility, they should be taking it. So if there's a penalty and they refuse, or they did not claim that they were eligible for Medicare, we do not pay that penalty anymore. At the bottom of the page, under the spousal health insurance upon the death of an employee, upon the death of an active employee or retiree, the surviving spouse may continue the group coverage, including dependent coverage, until remarriage or death of said surviving spouse in accordance with the Mass General Laws 32B, Section 9. As applicable, these situations will also be subject to the provisions of COBRA and Title 12 of the Public Health Service Act. As eligibility attaches to the employee, retiree, or surviving spouse, upon death of both, dependents are not eligible to continue coverage except through COBRA as addressed in Section 4. This was just added for clarification. We've had some instances where there was nothing on record. We had an employee that served the town for 6 years, died, left a family, wife and many children. The wife remained on the coverage for well over 30 years, and a dependent child of theirs was on the insurance, but the parent, the spouse, the surviving spouse did die, and the dependent was no longer eligible, and but we needed to clarify that because it was quite a case, and we weren't trying. There were other avenues for this dependent to get insurance. So this is just a clarification of who is eligible upon the death of the active employee. On page 5, 11A, the change was that we left off we used to put the prices, we have the HRA that pays $1,000 for admission to a hospital. If a subscriber through the town's insurance incurs this expense, they bring the invoice to the town, and the town pays that $1,000. But what happens is, over time, the prices have changed, the plan, that copay has changed, so we just have that information annually when the open enrollment happens, instead of putting that dollar amount specifically in the eligibility guidelines. It really wasn't appropriate. It's something we can give the information out annually as needed. Termination of health insurance coverage for non-payment of subscriber contribution. And the employee retiree contribution for his or her share of the health insurance premium is due to the town no later than the first of each month in which the benefit occurs. Failure by the subscriber to remit such payment may cause the town to terminate coverage of the enrollee. We have had, without putting something in writing, subscribers that have kind of taken advantage of not getting the funds to us, and we pay up front, and it would be several months out by the time we would receive their share of the premium. So that's just something we wanted to put in writing, that there was a responsibility for the subscriber to meet the obligations. And number 13, enrollment eligibility audit, Chapter 32B, Section 26 is a new item in the law, and actually has proven to be a very good tool. What this is somewhat of a positive enrollment. In days gone by, we have had family dynamics that were pretty basic. You know, the mother and father on there and the kids, and you all had the same name. Family, the culture has changed, and a lot of people are on health insurance. The age of dependence has increased to age 26. So it's hard to prove who belongs to who. So what's now is we've had a health insurance enrollment audit, and it proved to be very beneficial. And so the subscribers in the town-sponsored health insurance must submit documentation that the subscriber and his or her spouse and/or dependents are appropriately eligible for coverage. Failure to produce the required documentation may result in denial of enrollment in the town's health insurance plan. Documents required may include birth certificates, the long form, marriage certificate, divorce decree, adoption certificate, and federal tax returns. As a matter of interest, we did just complete it, and we had 100% response with people. They did balk. They were very concerned about showing us their tax returns, that they were able to redact their financial information. It was just if they were married, that was in fact their spouse, and they were claiming that as such. So it just needed to have the two names on the thing, but we did not need to see the financial information. It's proven to be a very useful tool. The town of Oxford is not the only entity that has done one, and it will be handled every 2 years.
And it's required by law.
Yes, and that wasn't local acceptance. That was, we did follow through very quickly, and it worked out very, very well. Then the next page, that there was a change. Oh, on the, just letting you know that this is what we've accepted, the items of 32B that we have accepted, and the most recent one was the OPEB trust that we voted at the town meeting, that we set up an other post-employment benefit fund. Chairman Casey was involved when we went out to bid to find an investment firm to handle our funds, and as a matter of fact, we will be having a first review of that with the investors in May, and it has had earnings. We've gone very lightly into the water, but we haven't lost any funds. We've earned probably about $140,000 so far in less than a year, so that's good news. And
did we vote to take that money to Foxwoods? Because we know we can double it for the
we're
town,
holding
right?
out. We're going to get a whole year's worth of returns
Okay.
before we go. Or
That
maybe
sounds
we'll use
good.
it in one of our casinos.
Yeah, that's right.
So it'll be earning some more money by then, I'm sure. All right, and on the last item that I wanted to mention was on page 10, this is a list of the contributions paid, and the one that is highlighted is the surviving spouse of an active employee pays at the rate of 50%. Remarriage terminates eligibility. This was something that came to light. We had, I don't know why it was a very generous one. The other one was surviving spouse pays at the rate of the active employee until remarriage or age 65. It left us open for a surviving spouse of an employee that may have not even been an employee very long for the town to enjoy the benefit of a lower percentage rate for a very long time for health insurance. And while it's, very sad, or the loss and a financial impact to their family at that time, the benefit that they were able to enjoy and may enjoy for many, many years is actually more generous than what the actual retirees who pay 50%. So it's up for consideration. We recommend the 50%, that anybody that is not an active employee is pretty much at the 50% rate. So we have, at this current time, there are 2 eligible for at the old rate. And it hadn't occurred, and it wasn't even something that we were aware of until this past year, and it really triggered. It was probably something done when costs were not so significant in the healthcare world. So, all right, so that is the overview. The other item is, this is, I think tonight, somewhat maybe a presentation of proposed amendments, because on page 6, number 17, it does say these rules and regulations may be waived, suspended, or rescinded by vote of a majority or all of the members of the Board of Selectmen, provided, however, that the proposed waiver, suspension, amendment, or rescission must be acted upon at a meeting of the Board of Selectmen subsequent to a meeting at which it has been presented. So it's almost like, I think that tonight we would be going over it. If you agree to the amendments, then I would come back, we would have the fresh document prepared, and you would accept it and approve it and sign it at a subsequent meeting. So that's my information, and if you have any questions or things that you'd like to discuss.
Open up to the board, questions, comments? Yes, Mr. Lamont?
Claire, you say the surviving spouses of an active employee at a rate of 50%. We have 2 who are currently, are they at the 80-20 right now?
I
Or
think they're at
75-25?
75-25.
So would they remain at 75-25, or would they go to 50-50?
They would go to no, that generally, it's usually moving forward, that we're taking away the benefit. That would be the recommendation of the board, if they wanted to actually give them some time and say that now it will be at a 50%, but by 12 months from now or 6 months from now to help them. But we don't know. We were assuming it would be grandfathered, that they would be at the 25%.
Well, typically under a normal COBRA scenario, it's 18 months or 24 months that you have to.
The different COBRA situations, death of an employee spouse is usually 36 months, 3 years.
So if this surviving spouse were to be changed from 75-25 to 50-50, under COBRA, they'd have a 3-year notice.
Under COBRA, yes. Mm-hmm.
And then anything thereafter, it's the 50-50, because we'd have honored COBRA anyhow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Any other comments, concerns? Ms. Casey?
I just have a couple points, since how we're not voting on this evening. I do intend, I'll put it out there for discussion right now, but I would request that another version of the policy be prepared. I'm going to suggest that Section 1C be amended from what we have now, and it's to address what I would consider a matter of common decency with respect to Selectman LaMarche losing his benefit of medical insurance as a member of this board in 2 years. And I'm going to, we're not voting on it this evening, but language to the effect, I have reviewed this language, something to the effect of, effective June 30th, 2012, compensated elected officials shall no longer be eligible for group insurance, provided, however, that that current member of the Board of Selectmen, members of the Board of Selectmen, currently eligible for group insurance benefits through the town shall continue to be eligible to receive those benefits until that elected official leaves the current eligible position. And I can email that language, just kind of work, I just got this now and I'm working that language, but I'm gonna request that that section be amended. Really, I think we have an extraordinary situation here where you have an individual who was elected to the Board of Selectmen, where we did have the medical insurance. And anybody who served on this board knows that you can literally put in, you know, if it's a town meeting week, anything from 10 to 30 hours a week, the chairman often more than that. But Selectman LaMarche is an individual who, with the help of other volunteers in town, basically built the new Oxford Animal Shelter. I mean, let's call it what it is. Worked as the general contractor on that project, and I can't even imagine how many hours he put in that project, and he's just an excellent selectman. So it's a matter of common decency, the right thing to do. He earned it, whatever you want to caption it under. I think it's a very appropriate amendment to the policy. I know I spoke to the chair briefly before the meeting. I tried to give everybody a heads up that I'd be raising this issue, and he was concerned about the impact on the moderator. I'll speak for myself. I think that the job that a selectman does is very different than what a moderator does. The moderator basically presides over 2 town meetings annually. I'm not taking anything away from our moderator, but that's what it is. They don't come to meetings every Tuesday. They don't attend all the events that we attend and put in all the hours that selectmen put in. But in this case, I am singling out Selectman LaMarche because his efforts are extraordinary. And I wouldn't be making this motion to grandfather in somebody or give them special treatment unless I thought it was most appropriate. I don't think people should receive special treatment, but I do think it's appropriate. And it's no secret, it's been in the Telegram and Gazette, it's been in the local papers that his wife has MS. I'm not talking out of school when I say that. And the impact to Selectman LaMarche in losing his medical insurance would be financially, potentially catastrophic. And I know that my colleagues, we are all blessed. We are fortunate that either through our company, we have insurance, or through our retirement benefits with the state or other elected positions, we are not in a situation where we're wondering where we are retired from our professional careers. Selectman LaMarche was a teacher, where we're going to get medical insurance, and quite frankly, where you're going to get medical insurance with somebody with a pre-existing condition like MS. So I'm going to request, I'll work with the manager on that language. It's not a vote that we're going to take tonight, my understanding. As I said, I tried to give my colleagues a heads up on this. We had a spirited discussion, I'd call it, before the last town meeting. I think it was in May or October about this. And, you know, I'm not going to go down that road, but simply put, layman's terms, it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Any other comments? There being none, do you have anything further to bring before the?
Now, are you going to vote at another meeting? You'll prepare wording? Will Selectman Casey prepare some wording that you would then take a vote, yea or nay, and then we would insert that, whatever the vote is, into the document, and then I would come back and you would, you know, sign it and approve? So you would vote at another meeting for this change, for this item?
I would expect that the document that is in place is the document that will be presented to us. And if Ms. Casey or any other selectman has an amendment, I would think that that amendment would be put on the floor for a vote. And if it is positively voted, then that document will change.
Change.
So you'd have the amended April 9th and amended whatever the next meeting is, April 20, whatever.
Whatever your next meeting is, if you,
So we'll vote, we'll sign, this was to use the terminology, this was the first reading of the proposal. The second reading would be, say, on the 23rd, at which point you'll sign it, and we'll hear the first reading of the amendment to one C, which would then
Yes.
be, the second reading would be the meeting in May. Procedurally, or you want to hold up on these changes?
I would rather just put a motion on the floor when we're gonna vote to sign it and let the motion to amend either fail or prevail, instead of having
at this,
different
at the
readings.
next meeting, okay, and
I
then,
don't see any reason to drag this on
Okay,
week after week
right.
after week. I mean, we all know what the proposal is.
Mm-hmm.
And if Ms. Casey would be kind enough to give us a copy of hers so that we can look at it and do our research,
Mm-hmm.
as well as yourself. And then at the next meeting, that same document will be presented, and at that time, Ms. Casey or any other selectman can put any other proposed article on the floor for a vote. And once that vote is taken, it will either be added as an
As an
amendment
amendment.
or not.
okay. Now, the other, and is there any interest in any of the other changes that were presented? So,
I'm
at
still-
that time with your,
I still don't understand the surviving spouse. What are we doing with those two employees? I mean, those two spouses are former employees, deceased employees.
would we want to make a further clarification in there that even current, somebody that is currently,
Well,
at
from what I
the-
read here, with the date that you have up top here of April 9th, it's telling these two women that they're going to go from a 75-25 to a 50-50, almost effective immediately, correct?
No, actually, the actual intent was not to change the parties that were involved now. It would be a moving forward should this incident occur to another subscriber,
So could-
that those people would be at the 50%.
Surviving
Oh,
spouse of
it's-
active employees after such and such a
Right,
date
right,
then?
so, right, so,
So
we
I'm-
want to
that's why I'm
clarify a
confused.
date.
Right, there was no
Right,
clarification
right,
in there.
that's
Who
absolutely,
die after a certain date,
Because the way this reads, it's like, okay,
Or
this is it, it's
effective
done.
This date.
or, yeah, effective this date, we could just put that in.
However it goes, whatever wording you need to use to make it work as a policy.
So it won't affect those who are already surviving spouses of a
Which is two.
employee,
two.
which is
There are
only
two
two.
cases of it at this, point. So they would remain, so effective as of the date moving
Or whatever
forward. If
date,
it happens
April
again,
9th.
it would be the 50% for that.
Yeah, I don't know what date you use.
We would use the date of the.
Of April 9th, the amended?
The amended, or if we, amended, we're presenting it tonight, but will the official vote be at the next date? Would that be the actual amended date?
so that'd be the
when you said
23rd.
the April 23rd?
Okay,
Okay, we'll fix
Okay.
that.
thank you. That was the only question I had.
No other comments?
Just very briefly, Mr. Chairman, and to the people who watch this meeting, if you feel passionately about this proposed amendment, I would encourage everybody to just contact the members of the Board of Selectmen, and I'll let them know how you feel about it. Thank you.
Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
Excuse me, no, Claire,
Oh,
one more,
okay.
if I may. Termination of health coverage. Well, you have the word may.
May.
Under A. Okay, is there a time specific? If somebody doesn't pay you by the 10th or the 15th of the month, you're going to cancel them, that's a drop dead date?
We actually go out for we've gone out for 60 days, 2 months, and chased people, and we would probably still have that 60-day
Right.
timeframe. And what would happen at that point in time, if we don't receive the payment, they are, by 60 days after that first of the month that they were covered, they would be terminated and COBRA'd by the town, and the COBRA is 100% of the premium plus a 2%
Right, 102
admin fee,
points, yeah.
yeah.
So, the original, but let's say they just tell that they didn't want it, they, you know, skipped on to Medicare or something, Medicaid, okay? Yeah, Cade.
Then that's like they've
Do we
given.
lose the premium? The
Yeah, we
50%?
had them covered, we could actually go back, some of them will go back to the date that we say it was terminated, but what happens is, we've been very generous with the 60-day wait, and they could have, coverage or medical care during that time, and we have fronted the bill, they were fully covered, because
Right.
the town pays it.
Which is
So-
why it's 60 days, knowing when I walk out the door that my insurance is due the first of the month.
Absolutely,
And if I'm not gonna be able to pay you by the first of the month because I'm on vacation, or, you know, I had to pay my taxes or something, and I call you up and say, Claire, can I have till the 10th? Okay, you know it's coming then. If I don't pay you by the 10th, I'd expect you to say, hey, get off my
Absolutely,
plan.
yes, and would we care to put a grace period, what we would allow is a grace period, 15 days from the, 15-day wait.
Well, again, you know, trying to be be fiduciarily responsible.
I agree.
Okay, for the taxpayers' money, because that's what you're doing. You're loaning this individual taxpayer money. You're floating them taxpayer money. And in doing so,
God bless you.
I'd
Thank
like to know that it's only for a short period of time, and we really limit the amount of exposure the taxpayer is being faced with. So I wouldn't mind if you could somehow, some way, get a date in there. I mean, Cobra says, no, Cobra says nothing. They pay or you cancel them. And we'll give you 2 points for handling the paperwork. You know, I'd like to see it where, you know, you give a 5-day grace and then you'll make a phone call. And if you don't get a satisfactory result 5 days after that or 7 days after that, then come and cancel. And then I know that you could go back to Fallon or whichever plan
Fallon
and
and
take them
Fallon.
off on April 1st, effective April 1st, if I didn't pay my
Right.
bill by now. And get back the premium, because you're
Right.
paying a month up.
So I will find out that detail
If you could,
and see
please.
how far back each plan will go, and then we can determine somewhat of a little grace period for some
And I
of them.
think that's
Some
all
of
that
them
matters.
actually might be retirees that forgot to pay it.
Yeah, well,
That
no.
don't- And so we do try and work with that, but,
I've seen it go in
Fine,
my
I
own
agree,
company where it's
I
been,
agree.
you chase and the guy gives you a sob story and you wait 30 days and then it becomes 45. Then when you go to cancel, it's 90 and the insurance company will only give you back 30. So I lost 2 months' premium on the guy. And, you know, that's my money I can do that with, but this isn't.
I will get that information so that you'll have it.
Thank you.
We'll send it out to all of you, so we can determine a grace period date.
Yes.
On that same note, Claire, if if a person, a retiree or whatever, is in the rear like that, do you give them a notice? You like call them up or something like that? Or
Notice, yes.
You do, okay.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So it's not something that
It's not out of the blue, no.
just happens. Thank you.
All righty?
Okay, if there's nothing further, we thank you for coming in.
All
We'll
right.
see you
In-
on the
in a couple of
23rd.
weeks. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.
Thank you, Claire.
The next item on the agenda is a new class license for Woods CRW Corporation. Michael Silva. Good evening.
Good evening.
You're applying for a Class 1 license. Is that
Correct.
correct? And that means you'll be dealing with brand-new equipment?
We deal with both new and used equipment.
Okay. Do we have a site plan?
Yes.
It's been approved? Okay. Board members, any questions, concerns?
This is that big building that was built off Route 56, correct?
It is.
Beautiful job.
Yep.
Very nice.
Thank you. We're
Uh,
proud of
I know planning board ran you through the ringer on a lot of things with this.
We made, we went through the planning board, the whole process, and
Oh, yeah.
we had no real issues.
no real
It was
issues.
great.
They-
It
you-
was,
you
we're
complied with
really happy
everything.
with everything so far. It's worked
Yeah.
out really well.
They had no problem, and Sean and none of them had any problem. The chief had
No,
no
it
problem.
went quite well.
Now, just for clarification, not to you, but John,
Mm-hmm.
where he says he's got new and used, this is a Class 1, correct? Not
Yes.
Class 2.
It's Class 1,
So I can vote.
yes.
Thank you. I have no more questions for you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, then I will entertain a motion to approve, subject to the return of a Cory check.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been moved and seconded. Discussion? There being none, call for the vote.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, let the record show 5 in the affirmative, motion carries. Good luck.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda. This is a public hearing, I believe. It's an all-alcohol liquor license transfer for Oxco Inc., DBA Centerfolds, to Omega National Inc., DBA Mardi Gras, Oxford. Please have your names for the record, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Daniel Kelly. I'm the attorney for the petitioner. This is my client, the owner, proposed owner, Anthony Santinello.
Okay. Board members have a copy of the, yes. You have a question?
No.
Everyone has a copy, is that correct?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would, based on the paperwork, review of the paperwork, I would put a motion on the floor to approve the request.
Second.
Okay, we have to read first the, I'm
Pub-
sorry. I'm going to read into the record the public hearing notice. Anthony J. Sanatelio of 568 Pinewood Drive, Long Meadow, Mass., has applied to the Oxford Board of Selectmen to transfer the all-alcohol pouring liquor license of Oxco Inc., DBA Centerfolds 2000, Peter Allard, manager, to Omega National Inc., DBA Mardi Gras, Oxford, and transfer of manager to Robert W. Downs. This license is exercised at 139 Southbridge Road, North Oxford, on the following described premises. Building consists of basement with dressing room, shower and restroom, 3 offices, utility room, storage room for liquor, and additional storage area, 2 stairwells, and 1 emergency exit. First floor has kitchen area, restrooms, 2 lounges, bars, and stages with 3 means of egress, plus an outdoor deck. Public hearing will be held before the Oxford Board of Selectmen regarding this matter on Tuesday, April 9th at 7:30 p.m. in the Town Hall Selectmen's Meeting Room, 2nd floor, Main Street. Written and oral comments from the public will be accepted at that time. So at this time, I'll open it up. Do we have any questions, concerns from the audience? Okay, board members?
I renew my motion.
Okay,
My second.
we have a motion that's been put on the floor by Selectman Casey, seconded by Selectman Lamountain, to grant the transfer of license. Any discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, let the record show 5 in the affirmative. Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Manager's report for April 9th, 2013. Resignation, I've received a letter of resignation from Ms. Janine Hurley from her position as on the Board of Health. It's effective May 7th, 2013. Ms. Hurley has served the town for over 20 years.
I'll
We have-
entertain a motion to send her a letter
So moved.
thanking her for her services.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Discussion, being none, call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
The Cultural Council has a limit on the term that a member can sit. There's therefore a request that the board vote to sign an appreciation letter for Mr. Anthony Triano, a member of the Cultural Council. Mr. Triano will have completed 2 terms on the council, 3 years each term, as of May 21st, 2013. That's the number of terms that's allowed by the state. Pleasure of the board.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
We have a request for one-day special pouring license. The board's received a request from VFW Post 5663 at 20 Federal, located at 20 Federal Hill Road, for a special one-day outdoor pouring license for all alcoholic beverages. The day requested is Saturday, May 11th, 2013, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. All beverages will be consumed in the outside parking lot in paper or plastic cups. Pleasure of the board.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. There being none, call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
The board's received a request for from the Barton Center for Diabetes Education, located at 30 Ennis Road, for a special pouring license for wine and malt beverages only. Wine and malt beverages only. The dates requested are Saturday, May 18th, 2013, 9 a.m. through Sunday, May 19th, May 19th, 2013, 2 a.m. So it's the Saturday, Sunday has to go into the next day. Pleasure of the board?
Entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. There being none, call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
We have Hannah Harwood Scholarship Fund applications. The request the board vote to set a date to select a recipient for the Hannah Harwood Scholarship Fund. The board received 2 applications. Pleasure of the board.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that we vote on this at our next meeting, which is the 23rd, I believe.
Okay. Moved and seconded.
Second.
Okay, second, discussion. Being none, call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
I see Mr. Basil is here. We request the board vote to release the wine and malt package store liquor license to Amoog Farms Incorporated, DBA Biz Mini Mart. The landlord of 425 Main Street has now met all the contingencies set forth by the board. Pleasure of the board.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. I'm glad it's over.
Yeah.
That's
So
my
that's-
discussion. This was a long time in coming. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries. Good luck.
Good luck,
At the last meeting, we voted, you voted to include a debt exclusion question on the local election, the annual local election. Therefore, now request that the board vote to notify the town clerk to place the following question on the annual town election ballot. The question shall read, shall the town of Oxford be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2 1/2, so-called, the amounts required to pay the town's allocable share, or allocable share, of the bond or bonds issued by the Southern Worcester County Regional Vocational School District, BayPath in parentheses, for the purpose of paying for the district share of the school renovation and expansion project. Pleasure of the board.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved
I'll-
and seconded,
Second it with comment.
discussion, okay.
Yeah, I think the question here really is, I mean, we're gonna pay for this regardless. It's either gonna be under the levy or it's gonna be with an exemption. Just my personal opinion, it's, every year, 2.5% taxes go up, but you already have $500,000 worth of these questions out there now. Just my opinion, just so folks know, you're not voting whether or not we're gonna spend the money, you're voting whether or not you want your taxes to go up. It's gonna be paid for one way or the other. That's all I have.
Mr. Lamountain.
I have a question, maybe you can answer it, John or Joe. Let's say this 2.5 debt exclusion fails this May. Is this something the taxpayer is gonna look forward to every year? A vote at the electorate for 2.5, for a debt exclusion to pay for the remaining 29 years, 28 years, 27? Is it something that's gonna come back, or if it fails, is it done and we pay under the levy?
That's up to you. It's up to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay,
The Board of Selectmen have to vote to put a debt exclusion question on the local election ballot, not the management.
Right, and understanding that, I know when I made my vote last 2 weeks ago, when I placed that vote, it was because of the process. I believe that it belongs with the electorate. But can they be beat over the head with it every year? Are you gonna ask that we put this, because it came from you, you needed an 80% vote of the board to get it on the election warrant. Is this something that the selectmen are gonna look forward to annually, this question being placed on an election warrant?
Listen,
I-
I'm confused here, Joe, because I thought it only had to be voted on once. Why would it have to be done
If
every
it
year?
fails, John, my
Oh, it
question's
doesn't,
if it
he's
fails.
saying if it
Right.
fails.
Oh, if it
If it
fails.
fails this
Or
May,
is it gonna come back?
will it come
Okay.
back year after year after year? Would management bring it to the Board of Selectmen, asking that it be placed on the election warrant year after year after year?
I would think we would have an obligation to.
I think, yeah, it's gonna be, next year, as I described, my understanding of the process, and I want to be careful with the Bay Path, the Regional Vocational School District borrowed $9 million in January. Our share of the cost, which is at most favorable rates, is $56,000. And I indicated that works out to about 4 cents increase in the tax rate. Not that it's minor, it's 4 cents. Every penny counts. Next year, they intend on borrowing another $9 million. So this is full disclosure, folks. All things being equal, it'll be another $56,000 on top of what we're already paying. So the total cost would be $112,000, which, all things being equal, that's another 4 cents on the tax rate, 4 plus 4, or 8 cents. And then in the third year, the third January, they'll borrow the remaining $9 million. Apparently, they're doing this as a phased project. And all things being equal, favorable borrowing rates, it'll cost us another $56,000. We're up to $168,000, or a total of 12 cents on the tax rate. I disclosed that to the taxpayers. I think as the town manager, I have a responsibility to say there is we don't have a lot of wiggle room to do this, to accept all this within the levy limit. That we have one other debt project, we have one debt project within the levy limit, which is the high school debt, and we're paying for that out of monies we set aside several years ago to do just that. I think it's responsible for me to ask for that debt exclusion.
So it would be.
Now, whether I don't know about, and I'll go back to say, I might, because we've discussed this, I've discussed this with board members. If I have this, I'm not a fool. If this fails, I'm gonna talk to board members again, and, next year, and if my sense is that, look, it's not worth it, make it work otherwise, I won't ask. I'm not, that's how things work,
Thank you, Joe.
okay?
Appreciate it, John.
Hey, Joe?
I'm all set. I need a pleasure of the board to notify the clerk to place this, you need to vote to tell the clerk to place this wording on the ballot.
Okay,
Making a motion in a second already.
there's a motion that's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
And on the, and on the subject of spending money within the levy limit, we have a request from the town of Dudley, Selectman Ruda has made a proposal. I guess Dudley's having a tough time with their district's, regional school. I'll find it. And you may have seen in the paper that Representative Duran, who was our representative for a short time, is the representative there. He and Senator Moore, I believe, are sponsoring legislation. It reads basically like this: being enacted by the Senate and the House, Chapter 70 of the general laws is hereby amended by inserting after Section 6 the following section, Section 6A. Preliminary local contribution shall be the municipality's minimum required local contribution, increased or decreased by the municipal revenue growth factor, provided, however, that any contribution over 2.5% shall require an override vote by the town at a ballot election. And then it goes into similar wording for a regional school district if they request an additional contribution over the permitted 2.5%. All of the municipalities affected by said increase shall be required to vote on the override at a ballot election. A majority of the municipalities must vote yes for the override to carry. In the event of a tie, the override shall fail. Now, by way of history, so my request to you is whether the board, the pleasure of the board, do you wish to support this and ask our representatives to either sign on or support it? As there's more than one page here, and I don't have a large number, my apologies, but I'll pass a couple down, and I'll read these. By way of information, the net minimum contribution, you'll recall in our revenue budget, the state says, here's how much we're going to give you for education, and here's how much you must spend, your net minimum contribution. Now, for you history buffs, we have been for the last few years paying much more than minimum net school spending because we give the school department our UGGA, our unrestricted general government aid. In fiscal year 2008, the net minimum contribution was $8,150,000. In fiscal 9, it was $8,260,000. It went up 1.36%. In fiscal 10, there was an overall decrease in the net minimum contribution of 0.5%. It went from 8.260 to 8.214. Minor, but it went down a little bit. In fact, Chapter 70 aid went down that year as well. That was while we were, that was going into fiscal 2010. It was money that was appropriated in spring of 2009 after the recession started. Between fiscal 10 and 11, there was a 1.67% increase. Between 11 and 12, 2.2% increase. Going into this year was the biggest increase during the period that I've recorded here. From 12 to 13, it went up 4%. Now what that means is we were told we have to spend 4% more on, we have to contribute a minimum of 4% more to the school department than we did the year before. This year, it looks like 2.65. 2.5 is not reasonable, not unreasonable. That increase was over $300,000. It was roughly 75% of what 2.5% gave us in increased money. And we had to give it, we were required by law to give it to the school department. So what this would do is it would set a cap on how much they can increase, how much the state can tell you have to spend. And it can be no more than 2.5% more unless the voters agree by an override to spend more. Pleasure of the board to support that?
I'll make a motion to support it.
Okay,
Second for
we have a
discussion.
motion and seconded. Discussion. Go ahead, Mr.
Joe, I
Moore.
see the numbers that you gave with the increase, that the town's minimum required contribution went up.
Yeah, let me give you that.
What did Chapter 70 go up in those years? Did they go up equally or proportionately as to what the town had to go up? Or did they, and I recall some of these years where we took a 2.2 and a 4.3, and they took like near nothing.
Yeah,
It was huge on us, small on them.
they are, because they're like the Wizard of Oz, they know everything. They tell us how much we can afford to spend based on tax returns, how much people earn in this town, and property values. And so they said, well, you can afford to spend this much. And then they apply this thing they call the municipal revenue growth factor. So my first year, in fact, we were clobbered, because the year before, we instead of underestimating estimated receipts, we went the full, that showed an increase, and then we were clobbered with an increase of well over 5%. And that, because they said, well, you have more money. You can afford to give it to the schools. Well, you know what? I need to fix roads. All right, give me a break. How am I supposed to do all this stuff? You're telling me I have to spend more and spend more, but I can't go up more. So I'm getting the squeeze. Who's getting the squeeze?
But now, and you know what, just to follow up on that, because I did watch the school committee meeting last night, and they were talking their budget and their numbers, and questions were asked that I don't feel were answered the way they should have been. We gave, for the last, I think, 3 years, 4 years, every penny of the unrestricted local aid to the schools. We haven't kept a nickel of it for the town side. Last year, 1.7 million, I believe. The year before that, 1.3 or 1.4 million. The year before that, 1.2. And almost every year since I've been a member of this Board of Selectmen, we have always given over and above the required minimum contribution. We've done that because the numbers didn't work with what the state gives and what we have to give. There's a gap. And in some situations, I say it was as little as 300,000, and now it's 1.7 million, which the school department's looking for like an additional 300,000 on top of that from what I see here. We're not obligated to give the unrestricted local aid. That's just something
We're
we've
not.
always done. That's something we've always done. The school budget, as you said, you know, they see it and the 2.5%, they give 75% of it to the schools, which if you look at the budgets, that's the split anyway. You know, the numbers are on a 30 million, they get 20, we get 10. That's just the way it goes. What I'm looking for here, though, is if we said no, we're gonna keep the unrestricted local aid to fix your roads and to do what needed to be done, what would happen to our school system?
Right now, we're proposing 15.4, I think, and I think last night they said they wanted 15.7.
Right.
300,000 more.
Right, they're looking for, according to their number, they're looking for, well, let's see.
they're looking for over
15,466 is what it is, over 15,074, so it's a 390,000. My big kill here, when looking at the budget, when they say that 15,466, it's that number they use, they're quick to add the Bay Path and school bus transportation, all that, which is school costs, bringing it to 17,750, which I like. They never say that number, they only say 15. But they fail to take that 5,616,948, which is the fixed and shared, which when you add all that up, it's 23,367,767 out of a 33,951,974 budget, which is clearly, they're getting more than, they're getting, what, 66, 68%
Well,
right
and
there.
take into, may I?
And that's not
And
taking
take into
consideration
account,
these items up
I
here.
don't know if you mind having, that I have a discussion. Take into account what you suggested at the last meeting, which is to take a cost center approach.
Yep,
We don't do that. We look at direct labor cost, direct expense cost. If I included the cost of the salary cost in police, fire, town hall, finance department, DPW, that would increase that 5.2, that indirect cost, because what we're doing is we're ignoring the real cost of that employee that plows the school parking lot, that plows the streets, that collects the taxes. When we do our indirect cost, we'd be spending much more on schools.
these numbers for the fixed and shared were negotiated between Dennis Power and Dr. Driscoll, I believe.
It goes back to the 90s, yes.
Percentage of finance people, percentage of whatever, and it was all based upon percentages, and we can't afford that, well, we need something back, and I know it was negotiated, and we have lived with it for, before you got here, so 25 years, 20, whatever years ago now. Understanding that, watching the meeting last night, and I'm sorry that I segued into this, I was angry over the numbers when they say we give 7.7% over and above when the state average is 19.8. When I say we only have to give 9 according to this and we're giving 11, that's a little bit more. And, you know, I just want the folks who are watching, because they watch and they talk, to understand, the numbers are great. It's not 15 million, it's 23 million. And it's actually more than that because I don't have the charter schools and all that in there either. So, you know, I mean, a small percentage, I say small percentage, 2,600 students, 2,700 students, there's that much involved in taking care of their education. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't, I don't know, I've never worked on the school committee side, I don't know the budget, I don't know the salaries, I know there's a lot of perceived values in what people should be paid versus what they actually need to be paid, but, you know, we see that with arbitrators all the time on this side, so.
But to their credit, Mrs. Folio pointed it out last meeting, that the, one of the assessments that's made against the town for charter schools is down this year.
Yeah.
That means either the people who were at the charter school have graduated and nobody else is going there, or, and why? Because they're staying here. So we must be doing something right. If in that competitive market of the charter school thing, then we must be doing something right with the money we're giving them.
Well, we were doing 700,000 for monies out for kids, and this year it's 460.
Yeah, it's down.
So it's down quite a bit, yeah.
So that speaks well to what they've accomplished with what they've been given.
Yeah. It does. I just went off on the segue, and I saw your numbers, and I know the state doesn't go up as much as we go up. Thank you, John.
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes.
on that point with respect to the proposed legislation, you know, hats off to Representative Durant and I believe Senator Moore. Mr. Manager, you said was
Yes, I
sponsoring this.
believe, that's what I heard.
You know, this proposed legislation would certainly score one for the taxpayer. It sounds good, makes total fiscal sense, but it's not gonna pass. The Mass Teachers Association will be all over this, and you're gonna have weak-kneed members of the legislature who are gonna capitulate. So, we can sign all the letters we want, I'm happy to do it, hats off to those two gentlemen. It seems like it's a bipartisan initiative, but, let's not, get overly excited about it. Because once the MTA, the most powerful union in the state, if not the country, gets a hold of this, it's gonna be a tough road to hoe.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have just a comment on this. I'm reading the proposed legislation, and it says regional school districts. Doesn't say anything about local municipal school systems. Or am I misreading this?
The first paragraph is about and then the second paragraph deals with the regional districts.
Okay, so this does affect individual towns that are not in a regional district.
Correct.
So this would affect Bay Path, as far as
Oh,
we're
yeah.
concerned. Bay Path and the Oxford Public School Systems.
Correct. That's how I read it. It made, one of the phrases as I read it, you may have noticed that I hesitated a bit. They acknowledge in the first part that the local contribution of a municipality's minimum required local contribution is increased or decreased by the municipal revenue growth factor. That's why we had the 0.5% reduction one year, because our municipal revenue dropped in that year. Provided, however, that any contribution over 2.5% shall require an override. And I believe that instead of contribution should be any increase over 2.5% shall require an override, because we contribute much more than 2.5%.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I will make that comment back to
Excuse
them,
me.
bless you.
You,
So the question, I think, on the floor is to write a letter to, and the letter would go to our reps. Senator Moore is our senator, so it would just be
Rossi,
Frost and Paul Frost and
Ryan.
Ryan Fatman.
Do we see any negative effect on this passing? How would it affect our school system? Negatively. We're looking at this positively, but I want to make sure there's no negatives here. We have an obligation to maintain a system for our children in the community. Now, it's nice to look at something in a positive way, but there are always negatives. I'm not prepared to vote on this unless I have a complete comprehension of how it affects us both ways, negatively and positively.
no. And how would you,
Can anybody feel that there are negative aspects to this?
I guess they're all,
Be?
no, I mean, Mr. Chairman, I guess I would agree with you that there are always negative aspects to the school budget because there is a finite amount of money and an infinite amount of demands and requests every year. So there's always gonna be a negative. There's never enough money, and there's always a request for more money. And that is the quintessential struggle between the town municipal budget and what the school departments want, and it's gone on for ages.
If this goes through, and it does become legislation, how could it negatively affect the school system?
Well, I think they'll get less money off.
Yes,
Yeah, they
right,
would-
that's the point.
But here's the thing,
The
though.
point, they get less money.
A community's fate is in a community's hands. You have the power of deciding whether or not you want to give your school system more money, which Oxford has been extremely generous historically. We have all new schools. We always give them more money than we're required to annually. At least you have that local control. I mean, I think that alone is just an overwhelming positive. Now, there are people who will come out and vote no, but that's not for us to say.
But we have that control now, without this.
Well, we're not gonna be
Well-
putting debt exclusions on every year to fund, I would never
No.
vote to do it every year to fund
But it's
school
possible
budget.
that it could be proposed because the school doesn't have enough money to function properly.
Right,
And whether
we-
this
This is only-
legislation passes or not, it's still reality.
This is legislation that will protect the taxpayer at the ballot box, and if people wanna come out and vote more money, then let them. But it's a cap saying, hey, the reality is you can only raise your tax rate X amount percentage every year. The math doesn't add up. You cannot keep up with the spending unless the two line items match up. And I think that's what the intent of the legislation is. There's always a downside. There's potentially not gonna be enough money. That's the only downside, and that's a downside we face every year. I'm ready to vote on this.
No, and I agree with you, but, you know, the real thing we should be looking at here, and we've been after the state to do it for years, is to take another look at how the formula works. The formula is not justifiable for every single community. There's always communities that get a little bit more or less than like-sized communities. And I don't think that's fair. I think the formula is what really has to be looked at and restructured so that there's a balance, so that every community gets treated equally, whether you're a poor community or a rich community. I don't want to be compared with the town of Wellesley, because we're far from that. I think we really have to look, our legislators and the governor have to look at how we formulate this funding structure. That's just an editorial remark. Yes.
You know, there are certain years when our budget is completely out of whack. This year, our health insurance costs didn't go up at all. This year, it goes up $600,000. If we can put some type of, if we have one of these years where it goes up $600,000 and the state says, hey, guess what, your increase to the schools is gonna be 6%, what are we gonna do? We're gonna shut down the town hall? Are we gonna fire 3 police officers? At least this gives us some type of safeguard in case we have one of these huge medical insurance increase, and God forbid it happens, maybe one year we have to cut funding from the schools to save other jobs or other services in town. As Hank mentioned, 2/3 of the budget goes that way, and the town has been very generous every year. They're giving up $1 million, $1.5 million over what the minimum contribution is. But this is as a safeguard will give the town manager a useful tool, maybe to know what his expense is going to be, what he's going to have to give the school at a minimum, and
Well, an upper limit anyway.
right, exactly.
Hopefully 2.5% won't become the minimum.
But as
Well, that's my fear too.
as Selectman Casey stated, this is pie in the sky for the most part, but at least it sends some type of messages that says, hey, town, we need help. We need to know what our costs are gonna be, and I think it's unfair for a community every year to be hanging in the winds, not knowing whether or not they're gonna have to give another 2% or 4% or 6%. This answers the question on the formula. The formula is 2.5%. And I fully support this.
All right, let's, if there's no further discussion.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, Mr. Chairman. Who motioned and seconded this?
I made the
Aye.
motion.
Oh,
Motion
then I
was,
second it.
yeah, you seconded it.
Oh, okay. Thank
Yeah, it
you.
was 10 minutes ago.
If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
And now some announcements. The Rocky Hill Road Pit is open. Rocky Hill Road Pit opened as of Monday, yesterday, the 8th. It's open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Starting on Saturday, April 13th, which is this Saturday, the pit will also be open on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Rocky Hill Road Pit is for yard waste only. That includes leaves, grass. Oh, I'm combining it with branches. Leaves, grass, branches no larger than 4 inches in diameter and nothing longer than 8 feet. So you have to trim that stuff down. The Senior Center is celebrating its 20th anniversary. There's a lot of 20-year stuff going on, isn't there? Wow. The board's been invited to attend the Senior Center's 20th anniversary celebration. It's being held on Saturday, April 20th at 4:30 p.m. at the Senior Center, which is located at 323 Main Street behind the Town Hall. Please RSVP to your clerk by Friday the 12th if you plan to attend. We have an announcement regarding Community Reading Day. The board has received an invitation from Ms. Susan Peltier, and we checked this. It's not Pelletier. This is not a typo. Her name is Peltier, of the Clara Barton Elementary School, to participate in the Community Reading Day program on Friday, April 26th, 2013. All readers are asked to arrive at the school at 9:15 a.m. and to spend 45 minutes in the classroom. If you do not have a favorite book that is appropriate for 3rd or 4th grade students, then an appropriate grade level book will be provided to you. Please notify your clerk by April 19th if you would like to participate, so she may respond accordingly. As previously presented to you, the spring bulk item drop-off will be held Saturday, April 27th, that's the last Saturday of April, for residents residing north of Charlton Street, Sutton Avenue, and on Saturday, May 4th, that's the following Saturday, for residents residing south of Charlton Street, Sutton Avenue. If anyone is unable to make their respective day, they must call the DPW at 508-987-6006 before Thursday the 25th, that is the Thursday before the first Saturday of bulk item days, to make other arrangements, and they're decent about that. Just let them know you can't make it, and they'll give you the other day. But we have to keep strict control on this. Otherwise, it gets abused. It's for residents only, and it's from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Oxford Transfer Station located at 200 Leicester Street. That's Route 56, way up north, Oxford, near the Leicester town line. And then, I got a couple more. Just a reminder to notify your clerk or Miss Deb LaMarche if you plan to march in the 300th anniversary celebration parade on Sunday, July 14th. The parade will begin at 12 noon at the middle school and end at the American Legion. And the last day and hour to register to vote for the special state primary is tomorrow, Wednesday, April 10th. The clerk's office will be open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. to accommodate those wishing to register. The special primary is April 30th. And also, the last day and hour to register to vote for the annual town meeting and the annual town election is Thursday, April 18th. And the town clerk's office will also be open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. on that day to accommodate those wishing to register. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. That ends my report for April 9th.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Selectmen's request, Mr. Lamar.
I don't have anything this evening, thank you.
Neither do I.
I have a couple. First of all, to Commander Maisley, I want to congratulate him for being the recipient of the 2013 Thomas S. Green Public Service Award. 4 people are honored annually with this award, which is given out by the Research Bureau, and it recognizes select municipal employees for their outstanding public service. And he was, of course, recognized for his 17 years with NJROTC and the dedication to that program. In the 25-year history of the award, there's been, out of the 84 people who have been honored, there's only been 5 outside of Worcester. And he's number 5. So he did well with that, and I just wanted to wish him a congratulations. And then to the town manager, tax bills, Joe. Real estate. Are they out? Are they
They're
coming
not out yet. I know Mrs. Folio's working with the assessor to get that done.
Okay, so people can, I mean, we're months behind, aren't we? I know that
We're,
folks,
we're probably about where we were the last 2 years as well.
is this gonna be an estimated bill, a preliminary?
No,
or
this
it's
will
gonna
be a
exact?
final bill.
Oh, this is
We'll
the
have,
final?
yes, this will be the final bill for this fiscal year. We'll have to have a tax factor hearing before we can send them out, but we're getting there.
Okay, and then folks will get the next one. That's the preliminary that we can put out on time.
Yeah, after July 1st, and that's not due until sometime in the
October.
fall.
Right. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Casey?
Thank you. Yeah, I do have an item with respect to zoning. I did have an opportunity to speak to the town manager about it last week, to discuss some preliminary actions with respect to the new marijuana rules and regulations that will be coming out of the public health, the State Department of Public Health on or before May 1st. And this deals with, to the manager, Joe, our discussion about zoning. And I would like to see the town be proactive on this. I know that some of the towns in the Commonwealth have proposed more moratoriums until they can develop zoning bylaws and specifically put these types of dispensaries in certain zoning areas. Now, I know we have zoning regs on the books, but I really want to be specific and give the townspeople an opportunity to vote on something in October. The AG's office, Attorney General Coakley's office, did shoot down a complete prohibition, which a few towns tried to put into effect, basically saying we're going to ban them throughout our town, and that got shot down. However, the towns that have said, look, we're not going to shoot them down, but we want to come up with some zoning so we can put them in certain areas, give us some time, that's been allowed thus far. So I would like to, I won't be around on the board, but through the manager, to put something, have something on the October town meeting, which is appropriate for zoning issues, where we can specifically pigeonhole where those dispensaries would go. Obviously, non-residential, non-school district, non-daycare type areas. So if we could, I know that, I don't know if you've spoken to anybody about that. I know
yet.
Westboro
You mentioned
is
that to me,
exploring
yes.
that, and we may be able to take a look at some of their materials and come up with a proposal, you know, for that for October town meeting. So I just
Yes.
want to put that out there. You're on it.
I'm on it.
Just to follow up what Jen's saying, if we don't do this, and it's gonna go to a special permit process, because we
Yes.
don't have any zoning for that, and
Well,
it's,
it depends on how they define it. When Selectman Casey and I spoke of it, it's not something that, it's not like a customary home occupation.
right.
So it wouldn't be in a residential district. If it's a business, it would have to be in one of our business, commercial zones. And if it's medical,
Which is basically, you know.
yeah, all up and down Main Street.
Oh, Main Street
It
with
could
20.
be,
Just to the point, though, it's a good idea, because it's very difficult to stop. So once they get to the special permit process, it's very difficult to stop then.
Right.
So it is best to be proactive, like Jen was saying.
Good. Well, and I know that the administration has not come out with the specifics yet. They have until May 1st.
I think they have a first, use that term again, a
First-
first reading, open for public comment.
Yeah, they,
And some of the comments I saw that the Attorney General's denial of an outright prohibition had to do with the fact that the legislation allows so many dispensaries per county, I think. But who's gonna decide where's the best place? I mean, you could have two, one in Webster, one in Oxford, is that right?
Yeah.
And that serves all of Worcester County?
So, I mean, some of it
so.
granted is unknown because they haven't come out with the specifics yet. I spoke to the governor's chief legal counsel 2 weeks ago, and they were in the process of drafting those regs. So they weren't even really sure how they were going to say what you could do, what you can't do, what makes sense, what's a 60-day supply. I mean, you don't just walk, you're gonna just walk into a dispensary and walk out with a box of weed. I mean, what's a 60-day use? I mean, so they've got a lot of work to do on this ballot initiative that passed, not the least of which is where can these places go?
There's
So-
a whole nother issue too, is will it be considered a normal crop now? That anybody who has enough land to have a farm can grow marijuana?
Well, the highest court in the state just said that if Selectman Lamountain lights up a joint, for medicinal purposes, of course, and he wants to share that with me and I take a puff, that's not a crime anymore in Massachusetts. So,
You can share the joint. Oh, man, this is all upside down. Come on.
anyway,
Share Roxy with me.
we'll work on the peace pipe. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Okay. I don't have anything, so I'll entertain a motion to
So
adjourn.
moved.
And seconded. Call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Dennis, we're gonna do
Huh, you can talk.
the next meeting at 6:30 to do executive session on that conference. Okay?
Executive session.
Executive session, next meeting at 6:30. We have to go into executive session to hear, it'd be like, the court thing, you have, you do the inquiry,
what
the
I'm
grand
about.
jury.
I
This is
followed
the
it.
grand jury deciding whether
Today, the ninth, the 15th,
Today's,
16th?
it's the 23rd.
Oh, that's- okay, so it's
Yeah,
2 weeks.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
I say, you said next week. I
Oh,
said, okay,
sorry.
posted?
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Stop by my office.
You should listen to
I'll
the
play the tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
usually talking to a third party, things like that. That's
oh,
Come on, grow up.
I know.
This is,
Not eligible for any of
Man,
this.
what's the worst thing that could have happened to him at that point?
I'm off the I was, you know,
I'm a mother.
and I did police work, because I would, I can understand his frustration. He play loud music. He was walking, he saw the car on the left, and he had this guy yelling at the kid,
Just so you know.
bang the side of his car to get his attention. Okay, so he caused the problem. What he should have done was said, that's up to him, say, listen, bring it to the station, we'll take pictures, pass it on to the officer in charge, and we'll handle it. The town's insurance will take care of it. Absolutely.
It would have been nothing.
And he probably would have got an oral reprimand from the chief.
I know, that's the other
When you
thing.
miss
What are they gonna do? You have a homestead on your house, right?
Yeah.
It happens more than you think.
I got it.
But you know what, this is the same
get
guy,
caught.
this is the same guy that was
That's
working.
all they can do, that ain't much. All right, I'm leaving.
Oh, well.